The Acropolis of Athens is an ancient citadel located on a high rocky outcrop above the city of Athens and contains the remains of several ancient buildings of great architectural and historic significance, the most famous being the Parthenon. The word Acropolis comes from the Greek words, akron, highest point, extremity, and polis, city. Although there are many other acropoleis in Greece, the significance of the Acropolis of Athens is such that it is commonly known as the Acropolis without qualification. While there is evidence that the hill was inhabited as far back as the 4th millennium BC, it was Pericles, c. 495 to 429 BC, in the 5th century BC who coordinated the construction of the site's most important buildings including the Parthenon, the Propylaia, the Erechtheion and the Temple of Athena Nike. The Parthenon and the other buildings were seriously damaged during the 1687 siege by the Venetians in the Morean War when the Parthenon was being used for gunpowder storage and was hit by a cannonball. Early settlement. The Acropolis is located on a flat-topped rock that rises 150 meters, 490 feet, above sea level in the city of Athens, with a surface area of about 3 hectares, 7.4 acres. It was also known as Cecropia, after the legendary serpent man, Cecrops, the first Athenian king. While the earliest artifacts date to the Middle Neolithic era, there have been documented habitations in Attica from the early Neolithic, 6th millennium BC. There is little doubt that a Mycenaean megaron stood upon the hill during the Late Bronze Age. Nothing of this megaron survives except, probably, a single limestone column base and pieces of several sandstone steps. Soon after the palace was constructed, a Cyclopean massive circuit wall was built, 760 meters long, up to 10 meters high, and ranging from 3.5 to 6 meters thick. This wall would serve as the main defense for the Acropolis until the 5th century. The wall consisted of 2 parapets built with large stone blocks and cemented with an earth mortar called implekton. The wall follows typical Mycenaean convention in that it followed the natural contour of the terrain and its gate was arranged obliquely, with a parapet and tower overhanging the incomer's right-hand side, thus facilitating defense. There were 2 lesser approaches up the hill on its north side, consisting of steep, narrow flights of steps cut in the rock. Homer is assumed to refer to this fortification when he mentions the strong-built house of Erechtheion, Odyssey 7.81. At some point before the 13th century BC, an earthquake caused a fissure near the northeastern edge of the Acropolis. This fissure extended some 35 meters to a bed of soft marl in which a well was dug. An elaborate set of stairs was built and the well served as an invaluable, protected source of drinking water during times of siege for some portion of the Mycenaean period. There is no conclusive evidence for the existence of a Mycenaean palace on top of the Athenian Acropolis. However, if there was such a palace, it seems to have been supplanted by later building activity. Archaic Acropolis. Not much is known about the architectural appearance of the Acropolis until the Archaic era. In the 7th and the 6th centuries BC, the site was taken over by Cylon during the failed Cylonian revolt, and twice by Pisistratos, all attempts directed at seizing political power by coups d'état. Pisistratos built an entry gate or Propylaia and perhaps embarked on the construction of an earlier temple on the site of the Parthenon where fragments of sculptured limestone have been found as well as the foundations of a large unfinished temple. Nevertheless, it seems that a 9-gate wall, the Anaplon, had been built around the biggest water spring, the Clepsydra, At the northwestern foot, a temple to Athena Polis, protectress of the city, was erected around 570 to 550 BC. This Doric limestone building, from which many relics survive, is referred to as the Hecatompeton, Greek for hundred-footed, or Parthenon, German for original Parthenon or primitive Parthenon, architecture or Bluebeard temple, after the pedimental three-bodied man-serpent sculpture, whose beards were painted dark blue. Whether this temple replaced an older one, or just a sacred precinct or altar, is not known. Probably, the Hecatompeton was built where the Parthenon now stands. Between 529 to 520 BC yet another temple was built by the Pisistratids, the Old Temple of Athena, usually referred to as the Archaios Neos. This Temple of Athena Polis was built upon the Doerpfeld foundations, between the Erechtheion and the still-standing Parthenon. Archaios Neos was destroyed by the Persian invasion in 480 BC. However, the temple was probably reconstructed since in 454 BC the treasury of the Delian League was transferred in its opisthidemos. The temple may have been burnt down in 406–405 BC as Xenophon mentions that the old temple of Athena was set on fire. Pausanias does not mention it in his 2nd century description of Greece. Around 500 BC the Parthenon was dismantled to make place for a newer and grander building, the older Parthenon, often called Pre-Parthenon, Early Parthenon. Athenians decided to stop the construction of the Olympian, which was related with the tyrant Pisistratos and his sons, and instead used the Piraeus limestone destined for the Olympian to build the older Parthenon. To accommodate it, the south part of the summit was cleared, made level by adding some 8,002-ton blocks of limestone, a foundation 11 meters, 36 feet, deep at some points, and the rest filled with earth kept in place by the retaining wall. However, after the victorious Battle of Marathon in 490 BC, the plan was revised and marble was used instead. The limestone phase of the building is referred to as Pre-Parthenon I, the marble phase as Pre-Parthenon II. In 485 BC, construction stalled to save resources as Xerxes took the throne. The older Parthenon was still under construction when the Persians sacked the city in 480 BC. The building was burned and looted, along with the ancient temple and practically everything else on the rock. After the Persian crisis had subsided, the Athenians incorporated many of the unfinished temple's architectural members, unfluted column drums, triglyphs, metopes, etc., into the newly built northern curtain wall of the Acropolis, where they serve as a prominent war memorial and can still be seen today. The devastated site was cleared of debris. Statuary, cult objects, religious offerings and unsalvageable architectural members were buried ceremoniously in several deeply dug pits on the hill, serving conveniently as a fill for the artificial plateau created around the classic Parthenon. This Persian debris is the richest archaeological deposit excavated on the Acropolis and is well known throughout Greece.